Let's take you now to Nkandla, KwaZulu-Natal. We have a team of reporters there in Nkandla. Ayanda Mhlongo, Simphiwe Makhanya, Samkele Maseko. The better minds following the story, the latest developments there. Ayanda Mhlongo, in your shot. First of all, what's the latest?
Well, Blaine, all roads are leading to Nkandla. Indication is that hundreds of supporters of the former president are making their way here to Nkandla to show their support for the former president, as, of course, the time is ticking. He has until tomorrow to hand himself over to the authorities, failing which come Monday, the Minister of Police and the National Police Commissioner will then have to step in. We know, of course, in the latest development that in an attempt to try and avert that imminent arrest, the former president has now filed two applications, one with the Pietermaritzburg High Court seeking to stay his arrest and another to the Constitutional Court. A lot is going to be taking place here today, Blaine. As the story is developing, as I've said, we are expecting a lot of people to come through here today. Amongst those, we have a large group of Amabutho. Let me bring in now my colleague, Simphiwe Makhanya, Samkele Maseko. Speak to you first, Simphiwe. People that you're expecting, we've been told throughout the week, Simphiwe, that today and tomorrow, hundreds of people are expected to converge outside the home of the former president. In fact, we were just noting that the leader of Amabutho, Babu Mgelija, has now arrived. Speak to us about what we can expect.
Certainly, Ayanda, we are expecting those groups of Amabutho to start trickling in by midday today. The word is that they have been, instructed to come here once again, Ayanda, to show their support to the former president of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Jacob Zuma, as indeed the clock continues to tick for him to abide by that constitutional court ruling, effectively sentencing him to 15 months in prison. But of course, Ayanda, as you said, we are not alone. Our senior political reporter, Samkele Maseko, is also part of this discussion. Mr. Maseko, let me welcome you once again and ask you, in terms of this meeting that is currently taking place between the former president and the leaders of the ANC in the province, that's Mdumiseni Ntuli and Sihle Zikalala, how difficult is it for these three parties to actually come to what one would say a solution with regards to this crisis?
Essentially, and Simphiwe, is that these discussions that are currently taking place will be that the ANC leadership wants to try and communicate and mitigate the situation that is currently unfolding here, where the ANC's top brass leadership was told by the provincial leadership that those NEC deployees that have been sent to the province must essentially wait and pay in abeyance until the provincial leadership is done communicating with the former president. And then in the afternoon, Ayanda and Simphiwe, they will then go and give a report to the ANC leadership on what the former president has said to them in their deliberations. But one can't come to think that as much as they may be leaders of the African National Congress in the province, in the form of the provincial chairperson, Sihle Zikalala, and the provincial secretary, Mdumiseni Ntuli, and Mhlongo, the regional chairperson of Musadladla region where we are currently at, they are the juniors of former President Jacob Zuma politically. And he may want to engage with the ANC's national leadership directly, as you had seen, Ayanda, in those engagements that he had with the ANC's top six leadership in that virtual meeting that they had, where he categorically stated that the ANC leadership is not genuine in their discussions and deliberations with the former president, with him, because they are essentially trying to show their masters that they can rein him in.
But in terms of the discussions, Samkele, let's talk about what message are they bringing to the former president? Because, of course, we know the Concord has made its ruling. What else can they say?
Essentially, what they can say is to speak to the former president in the lines of obeying the Constitutional Court judgment, sentencing him to 15 months imprisonment. But the former president has a two-pronged approach to his strategy of trying to evade going to the Westville Prison Correctional Services Center for those 15 months, as he has lodged an application at the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court in trying to essentially stop and stay the execution of the arrest by the Minister of Police and the Police Commissioner Ketlas Tole, and also going to the Constitutional Court trying to have a recession of Rule 42 of the Court Act in rescinding that judgment that the Constitutional Court made in imprisoning him for 15 months.
Thank you very much, Samkele, for that analysis. Indeed, some legal experts have been saying that with the issue of him applying to the Pietermaritzburg High Court is going to be quite a challenge, asking if indeed the Pietermaritzburg High Court will have the jurisdiction to actually hear this application. Ayanda?
Yes, Samkele. Also, I think we also must note something that is quite critical at this point. The country is under level 4 of the lockdown. We've seen over the past couple of days a total disregard of the regulations or the safety protocol as required by the government. No social distance, no masks, and I don't know. Sam. Yesterday, the briefing by the MKMVA turned into chaos at the end when the journalists had to then basically storm out or walk out of that briefing simply because there was a question that was posed to Niehaus, the spokesperson for the MKMVA, on regards to the level 4. Why they are allowing members of the public to gather at such a critical time in the country. The placards that the members of the ANC were carrying, down with Ramaphosa, saying they are now no longer going to adhere to any instructions, any regulations that the government has put in place. I suppose apart from this, Samkele, this is an indication, a direction to say that the people who are out here today, the supporters of the former president, are slowly now distancing themselves completely from the government, from President Cyril Ramaphosa.
You can't shy away that the divisions within the governing party will evidently play themselves out in these court cases regarding the former president and his now sentencing by the Constitutional Court. The both of us were there in Pietermaritzburg when the provincial secretary Mdumiseni Ntuli was booed, when Sihle Zikalala was booed. They were called in isiZulu amamenemene, basically saying that they are essentially not representing the former president in a way that is genuine, and they are there just for political scoring. You also saw subsequently what happened in those meetings that the former president had with the National Executive Committee and the views that the former president has against the current president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, and also the divisions that are there with the suspension of the Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashule. For instance, when Carl Niehaus speaks, the two words that are always in his mouth and in his mind: former President Jacob Zuma, suspended Secretary General Ace Magashule. Never about anybody else in the top brass of the African National Congress. And some within the ANC do view that Cyril Ramaphosa is the first president of the ANC, whether true or not true, to officiate over his predecessor being arrested by his current administration. Just to go back in memory lane, when former President Jacob Zuma was coming back from Cuba, standing alongside Mzandile Masina at the Ora Tambo International Airport on the statue of Oliver Reginald Tambo, he did say that he was in prison for 10 years. He was jailed by the apartheid regime, and if this current democratic dispensation jails him, he will go to jail and he will come out when the time comes. Now you see him with a two-pronged approach, trying to evade going to prison. It essentially tells you that the political imaginations within the governing party have been sharpened. But the million-dollar question is, will he listen to the advice that he will be given by his political juniors in the form of the provincial chairperson, the provincial secretary, and Ayanda Mhlongo, the regional chairperson of Musa region, as opposed to him telling to their faces the leadership of the African National Congress that they are not genuine in their deliberations with him, who are his peers in the ANC, in the form of Cyril Ramaphosa, whom he served with in the first leadership of the African National Congress at the 1991 conference at the Durban Westville, where he was elected as Cyril Ramaphosa's deputy.
Mdumiseni Ntuli, Sihle Zikalala have said to the NEC, hold off, allow us to try and meet with the former president, get a sense of where he is. We will then come back to report to you. We were looking at the leaders of the ANC, part of the ANC NEC, the National Executive Committee members that have been selected to be part of the team that is going to be assisting the leaders of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal in trying to deal with this situation. Do you envisage a situation, Sam, where they're going to require the NEC leaders to actually come down and meet with the former president? I mean, as you were saying, these are juniors. These are juniors that will now have to meet with the former president. And clearly, their previous meetings, the president did not listen to. They had tried to meet with him to persuade him to appear before the Zondo Commission. That did not take place. Do you see a situation where tomorrow members of the NEC will have to come down to Nkandla to try and persuade the former president to work with them?
A situation like that may unfold. You know, my discussions with Nokawe Mafu, who is the convener of deployees to the NEC deployees to the province of the ANC, she was saying that she will be jetting into the province this morning at about 10, 11 o'clock, and she would then be meeting with the provincial leadership of the ANC. Mtumseni Ntuli said that that meeting would not take place, as they would automatically be driving in the morning to Nkandla to engage with the former president, whom he had reported is inside and did arrive yesterday evening at 10. So they may have an instance where those deployees are called to come here to engage with the former president. And one person who springs to mind, and knowing her role in the life of former President Jacob Zuma, is Dr. Nkosazana Zuma, who is arguably the most senior person in that delegation that has been sent to the province, and whom the former president respects a great deal. You remember during the campaign in 2017, going to the Nasrec conference in one of the regions where they were at a church, how profoundly the former president spoke of Dr. Nkosazana Zuma and all factions within the ANC, whether it be the RET faction, whether it be the perceived white monopoly capital faction of President Ramaphosa. They all respect Dr. Nkosazana a great deal. So she may be the one person who brokers a deal or has a profound word to say in these engagements that they have with the former president, but also not forgetting the protege of former President Jacob Zuma, Dr. Zweleni Mkhize, who may be in trouble with all sorts of issues of digital vibes, but he's also part of that delegation. When the former president was still leading this particular province, he left this province to Senzo Mkhunu, to Willis Mkhunu, to Dr. Zweleni Mkhize as well, and the former provincial secretary of the province. So they essentially have a long-standing relationship, and the former president respects the word and view of Dr. Zweleni Mkhize. Then there is Senzo Mkhunu, who hails from the very same region with the former president here in Musadada. He comes from Richards Bay. They are political foes and nemesis. There's Fikile Mbalula. There's no love lost between the two, former President Zuma and Fikile Mbalula. Then there's Lindiwe Sisulu, another conundrum. She has previously had a very close relationship with the former president. Thabang Makwetla, they don't have such a good relationship with the former president. And then Makhanya, you will come in and speak on the role of these leaders who are currently inside and the relationship they have with the former president, dating it from when Mtumseni Ntuli was elected as the provincial secretary, defeating a very close ally of the former president, that would be Super Rose Zuma.
Let's just remind our viewers of who exactly we're speaking about when we talk about this, the National Executive Committee delegation, the senior leaders of the ANC that will be coming through to KwaZulu-Natal. We have Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Lindiwe Sisulu, Tony Yengeni, Zweleni Mkhize, Ayanda Mhlongo, Bheki Cele, Thogo Dudiza, Thabang Makwetla, Fikile Mbalula, and Nosiviwe Makhanya. These are the leaders of the ANC. Of course, we didn't include there Nokawe Mafu, as Samkele has said, who is one of the deployees to the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and she has been with the province responsible for taking care and advising the leaders of the province in KwaZulu-Natal. But these are the top leaders of the ANC that have been tasked to come and deal with this situation here in KwaZulu-Natal. Simphiwe, we've spoken about who is here. Let's speak about who is not here. I think it's very important for us to also indicate to our viewers, you've been going around. Let's start here on the ground, the people of Nkandla. A lot of people might be of the perception, Simphiwe, that the former president enjoys a lot of support here in the area of Nkandla. You've been trying to get comment from the locals. What is the view of the locals? And after that, we'll then be speaking about the MKMVA. Yes, we've been speaking about this group of the MKMVA that is here, and that is the Mkhonto Military Veterans Association, who are here. But it is important for us to also note that there are those who agree with the Constitutional Court ruling. There was a statement that was issued by the MKMVA in the Western Cape, in the Eastern Cape, distancing themselves from the MKMVA, who are saying that they're going to protect and defend the ANC. Simphiwe, the support of the former president on his ground in his hometown.
Precisely, Ayanda. That's exactly the important point that you are raising, the issue of support. Because when we've been speaking to locals in this rural village of Nkandla, there are mixed views. One, with the people basically saying that we don't even know what is happening. Two, we have supporters or locals saying that actually it may not be correct to send the former president to jail for him, having, disregarded the Concord instruction to actually appear at the Zondo Commission. But critically, Ayanda, is the media briefing that was held yesterday by members of the MKMVA, being led by Carl Niehaus, the spokesperson, basically saying that they will be, they will continue to defy the assertion that former president has to, hand himself over to law enforcement authorities, even going as far as to say that they will form a human chain around him to ensure that no one, in fact, does come to actually arrest the former president of the republic. I believe we had a bit of a challenge with the audio, Ayanda, but I think that has been sorted out.
It has indeed been sorted out. It's just things that happen when we are out doing these live broadcasts, so we do apologize for our viewers there. Samkele, the area of Nkandla, to come back to the support of the former president here in this area, and although a lot of people might think it is his hometown, and so he enjoys a lot of support, but we're forgetting that this municipality, Nkandla, is actually led by the Nkatha Freedom Party, the IFP, and they've seemed to have had a hold on this municipality. So let's bring in that aspect as well, that regardless of the fact that many people might be of the opinion that he enjoys a lot of support here, he actually, in his hometown, in the Nkandla municipality, he doesn't.
Let's start here first. Does the current ward where he's in, is it an ANC ward or an IFP ward? Then escalate it to the municipality. That's where we need to differentiate the support of the support of the former president in this particular area of Nkandla. When he was still the head of state, this municipality, this ward was not in the hands of the African National Congress.
Absolutely.
It tells you that certain people in this area, particularly of Nkandla, are rejecting the former president and his political organization. They may love him as an individual. As people say, in isiZulu I will say it, ungumuntu wabantu. He's a people's person. He's got that charm. When many people are angry, I remember in one provincial general council in Gauteng, that PGC, when he was still the president of the ANC, they had said in that PGC, when Zuma arrived, they were going to boo him. Paul Mashatile was the provincial chairperson of the ANC in that province, a very hostile PEC towards former President Zuma. But when he arrived at St. George's Hotel for that PGC, the whole erupted. In his era of when he's put in a political corner, he comes out stronger. When he was still the president of the African National Congress, he's always had that charm. Each time he's in trouble legally, there would just be a cadres forum in KwaZulu-Natal, and he'd come out even stronger. But this time around, he's no longer in office. The question we need to ask ourselves, the people gathered outside his homestead here, are they residents of Nkandla? Or are they people from outside? I've largely seen people from outside.
Yeah.
There may be one or two trickling in, going in to see Uma Khumalo to give her encouragement, as the former president was not here, but in Durban consulting with his legal team. But largely, it's been people from outside and not the community of Nkandla. Not to say he's not loved by the community as an individual, but from a political aspect, his organization has been rejected, even in his era as president, but people do love him as an individual. Whether that will be escalated to support for him forming a human shield, should the police come and try and arrest him on Monday or Tuesday, should that order that he seeks for the stay of execution not be granted in the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court, you may find yourself with a problem again, where you've had Bheki Cele, the Minister of Police, coming here to engage with the former president earlier on, trying to persuade him as well to go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. He refused. He went further to refuse in the top 6. He refused to this very same leadership of the ANC in the province that is engaging him now. One wonders if perhaps it's not the time where the head of state, his own peer, the head of the ANC, picks up his cell phone, if he's not, and called and engaged with the former president, a person whom he's worked with since 1991 in that first conference of the African National Congress in the province. Subsequently, all of those years they were together. During the expulsion of a former youth league leader who also had to come here to engage with the former president, came even with a senior counsel, Advocate Dalimpofu, who's also a CCT member of the EFF, to engage with him. Who knew that Dalimpofu would later go on to represent the former president as is representing him in the corruption case, money laundering, fraud and racketeering of the Tallies matter in the Pietermaritzburg Regional High Court. So it tells you that the stakes are really high.
Certainly.
The African National Congress is taking the matter serious, but the question is, will the top 6 of the ANC provide leadership and engage with the former president, whom themselves have been at the epicenter of what is dubbed by political analysts as an onslaught against the Constitution by the former president and by the African National Congress, who stood by him for about 15 years as he faced issues with the Constitution?
Well, on the ground, you certainly see there are members defying the leaders of the ANC. And now behind us, the members of Umkhonto weSizwe military veterans are warming up. There's a drill now, and this has been a usual drill that in the mornings. We've seen them drill down their road, and again we'll see them in the afternoon. Of course, they're wanting to make their presence known, that they are here to protect the former president. Well, they are here to provide security, they say, for the former president. A lot of people have been questioning the country's security, how the police have allowed the members of the public to converge outside the home of the former president to essentially break the regulations. We've seen 1 or 2 police vehicles since the time that we have been here, Samkele patrolling up this road, when in fact a lot of people were questioning, why aren't the police stepping in? Why aren't the police coming to arrest these members of the ANC that have converged here? The Minister of Police, Bheki Cele. Samkele, do you think he's playing it safe? We've seen his police officers at a distance. They haven't been here. They're allowing the situation to unfold. But equally, there are people who are asking, how can this be allowed? How can members of the ANC be allowed to essentially break the law? Is he playing it safe? Why aren't we seeing police take action?
If he takes action and deploys the police here, some have predicted that we may be on the verge of another Marikana. Those are the predictions of some people. We've heard the leader of the EFF saying so when he was done with his presentations with the Electoral Commission review that is chaired by former Deputy Chief Justice Dikgang Moseneke. The way the ANC leadership has taken this matter serious, I saw yesterday with a video of the police van that was blocked from going inside. When we were driving in, we saw a police Nyala coming into Nkandla. It has not come near the vicinity of the homestead of the former president. It stayed far back away. So it tells you that the Minister of Police is playing it safe. They don't want to have a shootout here in Nkandla, but also lockdown regulations are not being obeyed with these gatherings. Particularly, there was no social distancing in that press conference of Carl Niehaus and the MKMVA, which is... One question is if they're even disbanded or not disbanded. We've got another faction within MK, which is the MK Council, whom one of the deployees of the NEC, Thabang Makwetla, forms part of that Umkhonto weSizwe council, which essentially is against the former president, with the likes of the former General Simphiwe Makhanya, the former Minister of Communications and former head of SANDF. So it tells you that those divisions also run deep. But one wonders if Bheki Cele, the Minister of Police, is even in the province. Usually on Fridays, he flies out of Gauteng, comes back home as he resides in Durban. one wonders if he is not probably around the area of Nkandla with that ANC NEC deployees waiting to hear what these discussions are thereof come out of it, and particularly with that interdict that the former president has now gone to the Regional High Court in Pietermaritzburg to seek an order of stay of execution of the arrest by the Minister of Police Bheki Cele and by Kehla Sithole, the police commissioner. But if you look at the historical context of their relationship with the former president, it has been very frosty since he fired him as police commissioner on those allegations of corruption with businessman Rusha Bangu. You'd remember the provincial conference that took place in 2012 in the Amalahleni region, where Bheki Cele went into that conference after he was fired, where Willem Kiza was re-elected as provincial chairperson on that touch and go going towards the Mangaung conference. Bheki Cele received a resounding applause. Fast forward to when he was booed, when the leadership of the ANC then swung towards Sihlezi Galala and Willis Mchunu and Super Rose as the provincial secretary. So they don't have a good relationship. One wonders, even if that team meeting that they had was their very first meeting on a one-to-one basis with the former president, and now he's got a conundrum where he's got to go and arrest his longtime comrade turned political foe.
Yeah, certainly it's a difficult time ahead for the Minister of Police. Just while you're speaking about that meeting, Sam, I'm reminded, as you were saying earlier on, when he arrived here, I think it was on the 15th of February or the 16th of February, to come and meet with the former president, the members of MKMVA blocking him from entering the president's home. It had to take one of the president's presidential security to then run up and speak to the members of the MKMVA before he was allowed in. So MKMVA very hostile towards the Minister of Police. And while of course we are speaking about the police this morning, as we were also making our way here, we did see police armored vehicles. We had said that there is actually a small satellite police station that's about 10 minutes or so from where we are. It seems that is where the police reinforcements are on standby if there is any incident that takes place here. But also very worrying is that there has been believe that there are people here who are heavily armed. There were gunshots that were rung out in the air a day or two ago, Simphiwe, when that motorcade was coming through here, largely with the members of the ANC from the ANC's biggest region, eThekwini, who had come to show their support for the former president. Even yesterday, inside the camp of Nkandla military veterans, there were some people who fired some gunshots into the air. Very, very worrying. I mean, I saw journalists scatter at that time, Simphiwe. So even though we are here as journalists ourselves, there was a feeling, especially yesterday, that we're not entirely safe ourselves.
Exactly, Ayanda. When you speak about the issue of police visibility in this area, it's not easy to tell just by looking at the visuals, but I can certainly tell you that there is a bit of tension here when you engage with the people who are here, because many of them, Ayanda, are saying they are willing to lay down their lives for the former president to actually prevent his arrest. But picking up on what my colleague Samkele Maseko said earlier on about current president of the ANC and current president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, having to pick up a phone perhaps to call the former president to engage him on these challenges. It's very interesting, Samkele, because some of the supporters of the former president are of a very strong conviction that he is facing these woes and these problems precisely because of the current president of the ANC. So it's a well-known fact that the relationship between the two is not really a cordial one.
It's going to be interesting today and tomorrow and the next coming days. Colleagues, we are here on the ground. We have Nkandla covered, and not only Nkandla, we do have a team that is in Durban on standby. Of course, we were told that the former president is going to be speaking for the first time, and the message that came from his foundation was that he's going to speak to his supporters tomorrow in Durban. We don't have a time yet that has been confirmed, but we were told that he is in Durban for now. The former president is here at his home in Nkandla. That's where we wrap it up for now. We are on the ground and we'll continue throughout the day to give our viewers all the very latest that's taking place from Nkandla. Blaine, back to you.
All right, it is no doubt a developing story. The better minds, Ayanda Mhlongo, Simphiwe Makhanya, Samkele Maseko, working the story for us. Stand by. Live update in the next hour.